Buckeyes.com and Bill Rabinowitz on deck. Nathan?
Hey, Kerry. We were all pretty impressed, or a lot of us were, with what we saw from Seven Banks on that brief look we got of you guys first day of spring camp. You obviously look at him with a little bit more scrutiny than us, though. So just what does he still need to do to impress you by the start of the season?
Well, he's got to be consistent in his performance and his preparation, but at the same time, I've been very, very pleased with Seven. I think he's an explosive athlete. I think he's big and long and very much in the tradition of the corners that we've had here at Ohio State. So I'm excited to coach him and see how he fares out there.
Next up, Bill Rabinowitz with the Columbus Dispatch and Tim May on deck. Bill?
Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Bill.
You came back. I'm sure you wanted to maximize every second that you could when you returned, or refamiliarize yourself with the players, get things installed. How much of a setback has it been to have to kind of go on whatever schedule this is and have been gone as long as you were? How much catch up are you still kind of playing?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I think what you're asking is the delay and the opportunity to be with the kids from March, whatever it was, till June the 8th, and doing all that over Zoom, and then the way the summer's been. And, I prefer to be a hands-on coach. I learned to be a Zoom coach. I think the neat part about that was that I probably have more communication with those kids than I would have in a normal recruiting cycle when I would have been on the road. So that was new and gave us a good opportunity to spend some time in some areas other than football where we were getting, to have conversation. And the other thing is there's a whole lot of those guys that were here, the first time around, and kids that I recruited. So I have a relationship with them. But at the same time, there's no question that the absence of available practice time, was disappointing. There's nothing we could do about it. And so we can sit around and cry about it, or we can just put our heads down and do with what we have. And I think we maximized every bit of time that we were allowed to. I think Ryan did a remarkable job of putting a schedule together that on a daily basis gave us the opportunity to work with kids in discretionary formats, voluntary formats, Zoom format, every possible way that you could. And so I'm comfortable that while nobody would like the situation, I'm comfortable that we probably maximize that time as well as anybody.
And how, it's an obvious question, but how much of an impact does Shaun Wade's return have? And how confident are you that the other three spots will play to the standard that Ohio State is used to?
Well, I mean, it's very early in camp for me to say confident, but at the same time, I really like these kids. I love Shaun Wade. I'm thrilled he came back. I think we have a lot of talent back there in the back end. It's just young talent. It's, inexperienced talent. But that's what happens when you have great players. I mean, we lost a bunch of really good players off of the defense, but we recruited a bunch of really good players to take their place, and guys that have been working extremely hard to have that opportunity. So I'm excited about it, guys. We're ready to play. We'll be fine.
Thanks, Kerry.
Next up, Tim May with Letterman Row and Brendan Gulick on deck. Tim, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you,
Gary. Thanks for calling on me. By the way, Kerry, I think I heard on the radio show the other day you're a grandfather again, so congratulations.
That's 8 of them now. 8 of them under 7. So thank you. It's but my kids are fertile.
That's called the herd mentality, I think. But
I believe so. And please don't put that on Twitter. I know. And somebody in there's typing that already. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have. I shouldn't have said it either. But hey, that's life. Real quick, what does it? If you had to define for someone, what does it take for a player in your mind to be starter capable as a cornerback at Ohio State? What are you looking for the next 5 weeks? Obviously, Shaun Wade's going to be back, you do believe. But what are you looking for example, at that other spot that's going to define people that you think can play the cornerback position at Ohio State?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tim. I think more than anything, I'm looking for a gritty competitor, a kid that refuses to lose, that it plays with a fearless mentality, of my man catches no balls. And that's really the mindset that we have to have, play in and play out. Physically, I love long, fast corners, and we all know that. But more than anything, I want a mentally tough guy who's going to line up day in, day out, play in, play out, and have the confidence that his guy is not going to get open. He's going to be an on-body coverage, and he's going to deny that reception. And so that we're developing that mentality. I'm excited about these guys and their development of it. But that is really what I'm looking for. It's what I look for when I recruit. I like to recruit winners. I like to recruit guys that their guy doesn't catch the ball. And if we do that, we've had good days.
In the last several weeks, there's been one guy that's kind of jumping out at you that maybe people don't know about right now who could be in that mix.
I wouldn't say that. I think everybody knows all the kids that we have here. And I think, we've had some guys that are slowed a little bit by injury and different things like that. But I think that this is the core group of players that everybody has talked about are the guys that are going to go. I think we have a great group of young freshmen and they're talented. They don't know what they don't know yet. And so we're working on that. But, they're learning about the toughness of Ohio State and the culture. And I think those kids are all going to contribute. I think that this season, more than any other, you're going to have to depend on young players and inexperienced players to step in and fill roles. And so we're working really hard on coaching our depth as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on SI with Bill Landis on deck. Brendan?
Hey, Coach, thanks for spending a little time with us.
Sure.
Pretty clear that the state of Ohio is an important place to you. Born and bred here, coached a lot of football here at all levels, left, and you came back. Why is Ohio football so important to you?
Well, it's really everything about who I am. From the time I was so glad we're going to get to play and coach. It's been 53 years since I wasn't on a sideline, and I was 4 years old at the time, in a fall. And so it's everything about who I am and kind of how I grew up. My wife and I went to the same high school. Our kids went to that high school. We grew up 2 miles apart from one another. We lived in Cincinnati all our lives and really had no plan to leave there until Urban called, and then that kind of got us moving. But I grew up watching Woody Hayes coach and Archie Griffin run the ball and all the things that a lot of other Ohio people did. And I love this state. I love what you get in Ohio residents. I love, you know exactly what, I'm from the west side of Cincinnati, and you know exactly what you're getting from a West Sider. And I found that that's true universally around the state of Ohio. And one of the things that I love the best is when I go somewhere else, invariably somebody is going to say OH, and there's a connection there. So Buckeyes are special people, and I'm just really, really glad to be one of them.
Thanks for sharing.
Next up, Bill Landis from The Athletic with Austin Ward on deck. Bill?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Bill.
Where you just came from in the NFL, it seems like nickel or big nickel, whatever you want to call it, has kind of become the base kind of defense across the league. And just wondering how maybe you see that trickling down to college and whether or not you think the college game is moving towards having one of those hybrid kind of defenders on the field, guys that can play safety and corner or safety and linebacker.
Yeah, I think that it's a nickel-based league because it's a throwing league. 70% of the plays are passes. There's very little quarterback run, although it's cycling back to that a little bit with some of the dynamic young quarterbacks and their ability to run. And so you're going to be in a nickel. You're going to have to be in a nickel concept and to be able to handle the speed in the slot of kids like Tyreek Hill and those guys that they have in the NFL. And so I think it has its place. Obviously in college football, not necessarily just on third down. It's more based on your opponents and what they're trying to do with the ball. But you always have the quarterback run factor in college football that you don't experience in the same way there. And so I think that there's a little bit more of a hesitance for some people to play some nickel stuff on first and second down here.
So when you look at the group that you kind of inherited, and I guess you could argue that with Shaun and Pete on the field, you could potentially be a nickel even if it looks like a 4-3. Where do you see, I guess, this defense going in terms of implementing some more of those looks? I know maybe you don't need it as much in the Big Ten week to week, but just sort of diversifying the package, I guess, a little bit. How much do you think you can add to this defense?
I think the big thing is having the ability to play in multiple personnel groupings on defense. I don't think that that's something that is necessarily common throughout college football, but having the ability to play and have packages with different personnel groupings, I think has been an offensive thing for a long time, but I think it's bleeding over to the defensive side of things. And I think you're going to see that continue to grow and develop. I think more than anything for us right now, it's going to be ability-based. It's going to be based on the talent of the roster and, frankly, the health of the roster. You know, you're going to have to be flexible this year. You're going to have to be able to adapt to a lot of situations based on who's healthy and able and ready to go. And so those are things that may evolve more this year than any other.
Thanks, Kerry.
Sure.
All right, folks, I'm going to just have time for just a few more questions for Coach Coombs. Next up, Austin Ward from Letterman Row with Rob Aller on deck. Austin?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Austin.
I understand that you were one of the coaches that made a call to Shaun on his birthday last week. Which recruiting pitch was the tougher one or the bigger win for you, getting him out of high school or getting him to come back?
Yeah, it's funny. I never felt like it was hard recruiting Shaun Wade. I mean, everybody says that. I think this is an extraordinary kid. First of all, I sang happy birthday to him, so that was, I think, what pushed it over the top. But the reality is that this is a kid that loves his team. He loves his university. You guys remember he committed all the way back when we won a national championship in 2014. He loves to win. I just think he's an extraordinary kid. We've had a great relationship the entire time that we've known each other. Even when I was in Tennessee, and I would text these kids and communicate back with them and encourage them and those kind of things. I mean, I just feel like I've had a great relationship with him all along. And to be honest with you, and the reality is, when a kid says to you, I need you to talk to me like I'm your son, then there's a lot of responsibility that goes with whatever you're going to say to him. And I don't take that lightly. And so our conversations, I tried in every way, shape, and form to talk to him as if he was one of my two sons in the same situation and give him the advice that I would have given them. And at the same time, making sure that he was very comfortable understanding that I loved him regardless of what he decided, that was unconditional, and it had nothing to do with whether or not he played for us or somebody else or whatever he did in this season.
And Jerry mentioned that he wasn't able to practice with you guys quite yet. Is there any concern, or is that just part of this process playing out? Any concern about him being able to get cleared?
No concern about that, but it is part of the process. And
Okay.
So it's just a matter of COVID testing, which if any of you have had that, it's a wonderful experience. I would recommend it to all of you. But we're just waiting on his results right now.
Gotcha. Thanks, Kerry.
Sure.
Next up, Rob Aller from the Columbus Dispatch, and we'll close with Doug Lesmerises. Rob, you're up.
Hey, Kerry.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing?
Great, thanks.
Hey, going back to when you first got here, you coming up with the best in America tag. Hey, how did you come up with it? But what's the satisfaction now where you are, seeing how successful this whole thing is gone? And can you describe that?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm not satisfied yet, but I appreciate that. Really, the whole mantra of BIA came from being at the best place in America. And if we're at the best place in America, we certainly should be the best in America at what we do. I do, when I recruit kids, I tell them I really only want to be around people who want to be the best in the world at what they do. And that doesn't matter if it's the girl that comes in and sprays all the stuff in my and is trying to make sure it's healthy for when I return the next day, or the kid who's dragging the bags out from my drills every day. I just want to be around people who want to be the best in the world at what they do. And since we really only play football in America, we decided best in America. And you know, that's a challenge because that means there's a standard to live up to every single day. You can't, that's not something that you just say and somebody slaps it on a shirt or on a hashtag and you become that. I mean, we try to hold ourselves to be accountable to that every day. And I think the kids have a vision of that. They have an understanding of what's required. They're in communication with our guys who are in the NFL who let them know, you know, you have to perform. You have to perform every day. You've got to, you know, there's a living, breathing standard to live up to. And so I'm really gratified by that. I'm gratified by the kids that are still playing, what they're doing in the NFL. I think it's extraordinary. Obviously the volume of kids that we've got playing right now and how well they're playing, it's exciting. And, you know, and the fact that we're in constant communication with all those kids is really neat to me.
And when you were in the league, did you run into guys, scouts or whatever, that kind of came and said, what do you got? What did you have going on at Ohio State? I assume that your reputation kind of preceded you there.
Well, I mean, I think that what I told my kids when I left was that I had that opportunity because of the way they had performed and played. And I think that was true. I owed them for that. And so when I got there, obviously there's a lot of questions about the players that the Titans wanted to know, you know, about those kind of things. And so I just tried to coach those guys the same way I tried to coach these guys. And you know, it seemed like we were doing okay there the last couple of years. So, and I think they're going to be really good this year. So, so I don't know. I really don't even know if that answers your question, but, you know, I don't think they didn't think we were waving magic wands. We got a great strength coach who trains these kids in extraordinary fashion. We have to compete against the best wide receivers in the country day in and day out. And because of that, you survive or you get eaten alive. And the kids that survive here in practice are going to be okay on Saturdays. And if they're okay on Saturdays at a place like this, they're probably going to have a chance to be okay on Sundays somewhere else.
Thanks a lot.
And final question for Coach Coombs comes from Doug Lesmerises from Cleveland.com. Doug?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, Doug.
You said you like long, fast corners, and I think we all know that. Marcus Williamson from the outside feels to us at the moment in the very early stages like maybe the leader to start in the slot. Maybe you can tell us if that's correct or not. But Marcus isn't quite as long as some of the other guys you've had through here. What did you like about Marcus and the way he plays at the size he is? What did you like about him in recruiting, and how do you see that translating right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Doug. It's a matchup business, right? And so he's playing more in the slot than he is outside simply because more of the slots we'll play against will be similar size and stature players. Slot corner is going to major in short space quickness, whereas the long corner on the outside is going to have probably a little bit more long speed and have some length at the line of scrimmage and press man-to-man against taller wide receivers. And so that's been, to me, an easy transition for Marcus, and I have a comfort level with that. I've recruited Marcus out of high school. I've always found him to be a thoughtful, intelligent player who plays really, really hard. I think he's had an extraordinary offseason. I think he's playing really well right now. I'm excited to watch him continue to grow and compete as the season goes forward. But I think he's had a really, really good fall and spring.
And just thinking very long term here, Kerry, if you still are at Ohio State, if and when Braden becomes the head coach, would you leave Ohio State to go work for him?
That's a great question. So I love my son more than I love oxygen, but I don't know that I could work for him or that he could work for me. I shouldn't say that because that'll be on Twitter too. I got to tell you, every day I get to spend with Braden Coombs is a pleasure for me. He just texted me a little while ago, and I'm very, very proud of him. But I love Ohio State, and I'm really glad to be back here. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Seems like he's doing good things up there. Thanks, Kerry.
I appreciate that, Doug. Thank you.
Hey, Kerry, can you just give a Haskell Garrett update at all?
I can't hear you, Bill.
Can you give a Haskell Garrett update?
I think I think he's probably not as far away as any of us would have thought when you get shot in the face. If that helps you, Bill. I mean, I would have thought season over, career over, and I don't think that's true. If that helps. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say on that, so I'll be quiet.
Yep. Coach Coombs, thank you so much for your
Thanks,
time.
Gary. Thanks, guys. Hey, listen, all you guys, I really enjoy reading the stuff you write and watching you on Twitter and all that stuff. You guys do a great job with Ohio State football. You have class and dignity, and I believe in no small measure the efforts on all of your parts are helping us play. And I don't want to leave, because I don't know when I'll see you guys again, without saying thank you to you, because the coverage of our parents, the coverage of our players, and the work that everybody did to give these kids the opportunity that they deserve, which is just to go play the game that they love. You guys are part of that. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that and appreciate your efforts. It doesn't go unnoticed here. And you know, our head coach, I thought was phenomenal in this process, but I think there was a lot of people helping. And I think you guys are certainly on that team. And I know you're not allowed to be on teams, but I just want to tell you I appreciate it. And I appreciate your class and the way that you handled this and helped us. Thank you for that. I wouldn't want to be not coaching this fall. And you guys are a big part of that. So thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much, Coach.